What it do, YouTube? I'm MBRK Kevin, and I am here today to talk to you about some MB Ranch King feeders. I get asked all the time, what's the best feeder for me? So today, without further ado, let's get into it. So when we talk about feeders, a lot of the questions that I get are, what are your feeders made out of? How easy is it to fill them? How long does the battery last? What's the capacity? Do I have to worry about squirrels and stuff? Things along those lines. So let's get into it. The feeders are made of steel, just like everything else MB Ranch King makes. They're made of steel, and the good part about that is that means they're going to be very, very durable. The other great part about the feeders being made of steel is that it's a lot more durable and resistant to things trying to get inside of it. So you're not going to have squirrels chewing through it to get inside. You're not going to have raccoons, ripping it open, anything along those lines. And if a pig tries to bang on it, everything is welded together, so it's not going to come apart on you. This is an example of how the eliminator plate works. Whenever the feeder turns on, the plate drops down and releases feed, and when it's done, it raises back up. All of our feeders are high capacity. The Mighty Buck feeder comes in a 600-pound variety and a 1,000-pound variety in the corn model. The Mighty Midget in the corn model comes in 500 pounds or 1,000 pounds. If you're talking about our protein feeders, they get even bigger. So we really don't want raccoons, pigs, squirrels, anything like that getting inside these feeders and costing you thousands of dollars in feed. Another question I get asked a lot is how easy is it to fill these things? Well, they're only about chest height, so filling them up is really easy. You can do it with both feet firm on the ground. That way you don't have to climb into your truck or your side-by-side, making it more dangerous because you don't want to fall, especially if you're alone with nobody out there to help you. Another question I get asked all the time is about how easy is it to work on these things. So it's incredibly easy. And one of the best parts is you don't have to empty the feeder to work on it. The motor is on the bottom side of it. It's protected by a steel cup. That way, if anything tries to hit it, you're not going to damage the motor itself. The timer is located inside the lid. So whenever you have to work on it, when you're setting your time and all that kind of stuff, because it's in the lid, you don't have to worry about filling a compartment up with corn or feed and getting everything dusty and dirty. It's all right there in the lid. So if you ever have any issues with it, you can replace the timer real easy or the battery without having to do anything inside the actual hopper itself. If you ever have to replace the eliminator plate or the motor, that's another easy fix without having to empty the hopper. Typically what I do is I'll take an extra wrench or a piece of wood and stick it in between the opening where the feed comes out and where the eliminator plate sits, and undo the set screw that holds the shank of the motor to the eliminator plate. And that way no extra feed comes out and you can replace that feed, the motor without any issues. Another thing I get asked about is the battery life. They ask me how long it works, and really it's hard to say because it kind of depends on where you put the feeder. If the feeder's out in a field, every feeder comes with a solar panel. So those batteries tend to last a little bit longer. If you've got it back in the woods under some shade, those don't tend to last as long, but we all know that sometimes you just get a bad battery from the factory. All that to say, I've got customers that have gone a couple years without having to replace a battery, and I've had others that replace it after the season. So it really kind of depends. It's hard for me to say one way or the other, but overall the battery life is very good, especially because you have that solar panel. I get asked all the time is what kind of feed will actually run through these feeders. And you can run all kinds of feed, and it really depends on which model you're looking at. All of our corn varieties can throw any kind of solid seed, whether it be corn, roasted soybeans, sunflowers, anything along those lines. It'll go through there, no problem at all. The one thing I will tell you is if you're trying to run a pelletized feed like a protein, the corn models are probably not going to be the best thing for you because they operate with a 12-volt motor. That 12-volt motor spins that eliminator plate at a higher RPM than the 6-volt motor does. And what it can do a lot of times on those pelletized feeds is powderize it. And once it turns into a powder, it's a lot more difficult for the deer to eat it, and you're essentially just wasting your money. To counteract that, we have our protein models. Our protein models use a 6-volt motor, and they have a trough on the bottom of them. So everything is still on a timer, everything's still kept in the hopper, but whenever you have a scheduled feeding, all of your feed drops down into a trough. That way your deer and whatever else you're trying to feed can come up and feed on it with no issue. The trough is elevated off the ground, so it's not going to get wet. If any rain does get inside the trough, there are holes cut in the trough. That way all that water can drain out and you're not turning all of your feed into a big mush. The last thing I always want to talk about is the warranty. The warranty on the paint and the steel is the same as it is on the blind. The paint is guaranteed for 10 years, won't fade, crack, peel, rust, nothing. On the inside of the feeder, you've got the timer, the brains of the operation. That's 5 years warranty on that. You also have the motor on the bottom. The motor has a 1-year warranty on it. That's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. If you will, please follow us on Instagram. We've got a TikTok now. We're on Facebook. We're on everything. So please go look us up. Bruiser Farms, MBRK. MBRK Kevin is me. If you need anything else, let me know. I'll see you later.